All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most foundational and honestly most challenging texts out there, the very first chapter of Karl Marx's Capital, Volume 1. Now, this isn't just some warm-up intro. You have to understand, this chapter is literally the DNA for his entire critique of political economy. If you want to get Marx, you have to start where he starts. And that, of course, is with the commodity. So here's how we'll break it down. We're going to follow Marx's logic to the letter. We'll start with that seemingly simple thing, the commodity. Then we'll get into its two-sided nature, its internal split. After that, we'll see how it actually shows its value in the world. And finally, we'll tackle the big one, the strange, almost magical power it seems to have over us, something Marx famously called fetishism. Now, Marx's starting point here is incredibly deliberate. It's so important to get this. Why not start with money, or class struggle, or economic crises? No, he begins with the most boring, everyday thing you can think of, the commodity. He saw this as the basic cell, the biological building block, if you will, of the entire capitalist system. Get this cell right, and everything else logically unfolds from it. So Marx says, at first sight, a commodity appears to be a very trivial thing. And, he's right. It seems simple, doesn't it? It's just a thing, an object that satisfies some human need. A coat keeps you warm, bread fills your stomach. Easy. But, and this is classic Marx, he immediately pulls the rug out from under us. He says, hold on, if you really look at this simple thing, it becomes, well, his words are very queer, full of metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties. It's way more complicated than it looks. So what makes it so queer? Where does all this complexity come from? For Marx, the answer is found in a fundamental split, a kind of dual personality that every single commodity has. And we absolutely have to pull this contradiction apart to see what's going on inside. Right? So every commodity has these two faces, and telling them apart is without a doubt the most critical first step in this whole analysis. Marx gives them very specific names, use value and simply value. Okay, let's break this down. On one hand, you've got use value. Think of this as the commodity's physical body. It's about its usefulness, its utility. A coat's use value is that it's warm, it's made of wool, it fits you. It's all about its physical, qualitative properties. But then there's the other side, just value. And this is where things get weird. Marx calls it a ghostly objectivity. This has zero to do with the coat's warmth or fabric. This is its soul, its power to be exchanged for something else. It's a purely social and quantitative thing. The fact that this coat is worth, say, 20 yards of linen. And this is the central puzzle, right? How on earth can a coat and a roll of linen, two completely different things with totally different uses, be treated as equal? They're not the same physically at all. So when we say one equals the other in an exchange, we must be ignoring their physical bodies, their use values. We're abstracting something away. So what's left? What's the common stuff, the common substance that allows us to say they're the same? What is this ghostly value actually made of? Okay, this is it. This is the theoretical key that unlocks pretty much everything else in Capital. Marx's answer is this. If you strip away all the specifics, the concrete work of the tailor, the concrete work of the weaver, all their different skills, their different tools, what do they have in common? What's left? Just one thing. Human labor in general. The simple fact that human beings spent their energy, used their brains and muscles. He gives this a very important name, abstract human labor. And that, he says, is the social substance that creates value. So, if abstract labor is the substance of value, then how do we measure the amount of value? Well, it's measured by how long that labor took, by labor time. It's a powerful image, isn't it? He says all commodities are just definite masses of congealed labor time, like frozen blocks of human effort. But, and this is crucial, it's not just any labor time. It's what he calls socially necessary labor time. This means the average time it takes something with the current level of technology and skill. So if I'm a really slow, inefficient tailor, I don't create a more valuable coat. Nope. The value is based on the social average. Only the necessary amount of labor counts. Okay, so we've established that value is this invisible social thing, this ghostly objectivity made of abstract labor. But that's a problem, right? How can you trade something that's invisible? Value has to show itself somehow. It needs to take on a visible, tangible form. So the next logical question is, how do commodities actually express this hidden value? And that leads us straight into Marx's very detailed analysis of the form of value. It's like this. For a commodity to speak its value, it needs another commodity to speak to. Let's take his famous example. 20 yards of linen equals 1 coat. Here, these two things are playing very different roles. The linen is the active one, the speaker. It's expressing its own value, so it's in what Marx calls the relative form. The coat, on the other hand, is the passive one. It's the mirror. Its physical body, its use value, is just being used to reflect the linen's worth. So it's in the equivalent form. The key takeaway here is that value is always relational. It can't exist on its own. It only becomes visible when it's reflected in the body of something else. And Marx doesn't just stop there. He argues that this simple relationship has to evolve. It goes through a logical progression, almost like a species evolving. First, you have this simple form, just a one-off accidental trade, my linen for your coat. But as trade grows, that's not enough. You get the expanded form. Now the linen has to express its value in everything else. My linen is worth a coat, or 10 pounds of tea, or a quart of wheat. You can see how this gets messy and endless. So this chaos creates a problem that needs a solution. The market flips the script, leading to the general form. Now, all the other commodities, the coat, the tea, the wheat, start expressing their value in one single commodity that everyone agrees on. They all point to one thing as the universal mirror. And the final step? The money form. That's when society basically picks one commodity, historically gold, and makes it the permanent, official, universal equivalent. And just like that, you have money. So you see, from Marx, money isn't just a clever tool someone invented to make trade easier. Not at all. It's the logical, necessary endpoint that grows directly out of the nature of commodity exchange itself. It's a specific commodity, like gold, that gets promoted by society to become the universal language of value, the one thing that reflects the worth of everything else. All right, we've traced the entire journey. We started with the commodity's split personality, and we followed its expression all the way to the creation of money. This brings us to the grand finale of Chapter 1, and honestly, Marx's most famous concept, the fetishism of commodities. Because here's the twist. We've just spent all this time proving that value is a relationship between people, between producers. But in the real world, in our everyday lives, that's not how it looks at all. This is where he finally reveals the secret behind the commodity's mystery. The weirdness isn't in the object itself, he says. The problem is the kind of society we live in. Think about it. In a market economy, we all work as private, independent producers. A weaver, a tailor, a farmer, they all work in isolation. So how does their private work become part of the social whole? Only one way, when they bring their products to the market to exchange them. And it's right there, in that moment of exchange, that everything gets twisted around. And this is precisely what he calls commodity fetishism. It's a kind of social illusion where the relationships between people get mistaken for relationships between things. We start to see the value of a coat as if it were a natural property of the coat itself, just like its color or its weight. We completely forget that this value is actually a social thing, that it only exists because of the web of human labor that produced it. So let's be crystal clear about what's really happening. The underlying reality is a social relationship between human beings. But what we see, what appears before our eyes, is this bizarre, fantastic relationship between inanimate objects. The human connection is totally erased, and instead we just see things moving around and relating to each other as if by magic. And this isn't just some intellectual curiosity. This illusion has massive real-world consequences. For one, the market starts to look like a force of nature, like the weather, something we can't control. The actual human work that creates all the value, it becomes invisible. Power seems to be located in money, in things, instead of in people. And here's the real kicker. We end up being ruled by the very things we created. Our own social world stands over us like an alien force that we can't understand or control. So, in the end, that's what this entire dense chapter is about. It's an act of demystification. By cracking the code of the simple commodity, Marx believed he was cracking the code of our entire society. He was peeling back the curtain to show the real human relationships hidden behind the dance of the commodities. And that really leaves us with a powerful question to carry away from this. The next time you're shopping and you look at a price tag, remember what you're actually looking at. It's not just a number, it's the final result of a huge hidden network of human labor. It's a little crystal of congealed human time and effort. And so the question becomes, what human relationships, what stories, what hidden social dynamics are packed into that simple price? Uncovering that is the whole point.